The lack of proper and efficient sewerage systems is still the bane of many African countries. 1 in 5 children die of water-related diseases before their 5th birthday. The glaring inefficiencies in the management of our sewerage systems have seen our cities littered with streams of effluent.
The percentage of central sewerage coverage is just about 15% in the whole of Mombasa. This is where we get frequent sewer overflows as a result of blockages which take place along this line. Accessibility is a problem. All these areas without central sewerage coverage rely on exhausters.
A safe and clean environment is the right of every Kenyan. What should be done to ensure a safe, clean environment and reliable amenities for all? African cities are said to be growing at an annual rate of 3.4%, one of the highest in the world. With very little affordable housing, a huge number of people are being forced to live in informal settlements, most of them in very deplorable sanitary conditions.
Hi, I'm Esther. Welcome to Project Green.
Upscaling the living standards of Africa's informal settlements. Herein lies the key in making Africa's cities cleaner and sustainable. 60% of Kenya's urban population lives in informal settlements. The government may not feel compelled to offer basic services because the people are here informally, and likewise, the people themselves appear resigned to the situation. Most of the residents do not have land tenures, making the establishment and management of services such as water, sanitation, and electricity non-viable.
Mwili shida tuko nayo hapa ni ya uchafu, kuhara, kipituka, kipindupindu, hizo ndio vitu zinatusumbua hapa. Mtoto alikuwa mgonjwa akapelekwa hospitali kupatikana akona pneumonia.
Alikuwa na shida ya tumbo pia.
Kuhara. Na hiyo shida baada anakuanga nayo saa zingine, akikula chakula zingine anaendesha. Sijui ni uchafu.
Mnachota maji wapi ya kutumia?
Pale.
Kama kawaida unapata tumbo ikikuuma, unaendesha, yani unahara. Sasa unashinda ukienda kwa choo kila mara. Ambapo hata uwezo ukapumzika dakika mingi bila kwenda huko hivyo. Mimi Kibera nimetembea, hakuna choo ya City Council. Landlords kusema ukweli hawajashughulikia machoo. Landlords hawajashughulikia machoo sana. Sasa ni kama wamepuuza haja yao, ile kitu wameweka mbele ni pesa. Pesa ndio wameweka mbele, halafu nadhani pia vile watu wame-overcrowd hivi, hizo sehemu za kujenga choo unapata zimekosekana.
Kevin takes me to see the pipes which carry their drinking water.
These pipes are right where the sewage is passing.
All of our lifetime tumekuwa tukizitumia tu hivyo.
Some of these pipes actually have holes in them. So you can imagine with the sewage, it actually mixes up with the water. So here's one of those pipes that are actually passing through the waters that are filled with sewage. And here it is, and you can see some of the points are actually burst open and they're leaking. Okay, so you can see some of the points are actually leaking. And here it is where it connects right to the tap where they fetch water for various domestic uses. Tunatumia saa ingine ya kupika hii maji. Tunatumia ya kupika na ya kunywa na kuosha nguo.
The number of communal toilets do not sufficiently meet the demand, and mostly the cost is out of reach for many residents, forcing them to resort to open defecation or disposing of excreta in plastic bags commonly known as flying toilets.
So here is another line of like 20 latrines side by side, and all of them right at the edge of the Nairobi River. All of them drain into that river.
Most of the pit latrines here are drained manually. And most of the waste will end up in the nearby Nairobi River, with serious health consequences to the water users downstream.
Kumaga kwa sewer line inakuanga ni shida, tunagombana na Maiyo City Council. Mara mingi pia tunamwagaga tu kwa mto.
As long as informal settlements continue to be ignored or overlooked in the government's policy framework for providing water and sanitation services, the dream of attaining a sustainable city status will be just that, a dream.
When it comes to sanitation, most people in cities, especially in informal settlements, are apathetic when it comes to demanding for better services and standards of the government and of themselves as well. Let's discuss this further on Green Talk next with Dan.
Now, if water is life, then sanitation is indeed dignity. Sanitation is a fundamental human right that is enshrined in Kenya's constitution, yet 19 million people in Kenya today still lack access to improved sanitation. On Green Talk today, to discuss this problem, we have Priscilla Mwaniki, the Urban Wash Project Manager at Kenya Water for Health Organization, and Honorable Moses Ogeto, the County Representative of Kilimani Ward in Nairobi. Welcome to Green Talk. All right, we'll just start by facing the facts. And I think my question, Priscilla, would be, why are our cities and urban centers an eyesore of flowing sewage and burst pipes every time it rains, and sometimes they just burst just like that? Why is this happening?
I think the most critical thing to consider here is planning. I think when the city was being planned, we were looking at a smaller population than currently is. The current system is serving a population quadruple that was planned initially.
Why isn't the planning changing with the times, and why isn't it keeping up? This is a big problem, and it is something that's affecting a lot of Kenyans.
The plan of Nairobi first, let us not talk about sanitation. You know, when you don't have a good plan, you can't have a good sanitation flowing very well. So the Nairobi City County Assembly is really working around the clock to ensure that the plans in Nairobi must meet the standards of the people and meet the population of the people first. Then sanitation will come in. When you have good plans in Nairobi, we'll have new sanitation flows. I can assure Priscilla that the Nairobi City County government is ready to ensure that the plans, that's why the governor is bringing up a very good city planning department. If you can look to our strategic plan of Nairobi City County, the governor has ensured that the sanitation problem will be solved, since he has ensured that he has established a very good city planning department which will take care of the planning in Nairobi.
I think, Mr. Moses, I'm very happy to hear that you have a plan already in place a few months after the county government has come in place. My main question is that department, is it harmonized with what the other partners are having on board? It's one thing to have technocrats seated at a round table, but most of these technocrats, ask them what is happening in Kibera. They have no idea. Most of them have never been there. Ask them what is happening in Mukuru.
I think they are also stakeholders in this fight, aren't they? So what about them? Why is it that we never really demand for these services?
We're talking about knowledge management. When you talk about knowledge management, most of these people are not even aware. Those drainage systems passing through their homes that contain toxic waste from industry, raw. The industry are supposed to have treated them to required standards. NEMA and the council government have standards. We agree that at least they have done something. They are standards, but they are not at par. Because you have effluents going there, passing through. Those people are not aware. You'll get children playing with that waste that is toxic. And then the other thing, as these plans have been made, are they aware that this county council has pledged to do this and this? And how are they going to be able to raise that financial?
But coming to the individual citizens, the people living in Mukuru, and then you and me as well.
As the government was ensuring that the plans and the developments and the projects which are developed in Nairobi, he ensured that every ward in Nairobi had a public participation. They asked the people, they asked the residents to come up on how they want to solve their problems, especially with sanitation. They asked these people, we went there on public. Especially in my ward, the public participation was there on what we want to do, what the people want.
All right, so you know what the people want. So, Mheshimiwa, where are we in terms of fulfilling their needs?
In delivering their services, first, you must know, especially from my ward, when we had the public participation, people talked about the sanitation. The sanitation, they were saying, the way my counterpart is saying, Priscilla, about the way the flow, the sewage and the sewage system and what is being used by household is directed to the same channel. And they were of the same concern that this one should be separated, where that we have the household, from the household water should be differently from the sewage one.
We need a cohesive spirit of implementation that harmonizes all this. And we need to ensure the people on the ground are educated. They do not know. Most of the time, they are not sure that their right to sanitation is enshrined to Constitution. They need to demand that from the right people. I'm not saying we need to have a conflict, but we can have what we are calling, have them on the same table. The duty bearers, the rights holder. This is what we're having as a problem. This is our priorities. We have a lot of people coming on board to implement something, but have they taken into consideration the priorities of the people?
I can assure this for free that the governor has ensured that he has brought in investors which brought about 28 billion. And they have said that the community about the sanitation and the waste management is going to be collateral, so that we ensure that the 28 billion which the investor is going to bring is going to cater even for the employment, for also people to get the knowledge which my counterpart is saying about. When we have these great investors who are coming in to ensure that the 28 billion is being utilized, and the community people have also to ensure that they must change with the changes of the environment. Our people must be told the truth. Our people must be told that we are in this era and we need to go back to this era.
I'll give one project that we are trying to implement in the informal settlement. Once somebody sees the benefit of having better sanitation, and when I'm saying sanitation, the hygienic aspect of your environment and also what you're doing, I think it works. Somebody will only be able to take care of something that they've invested. You don't take out like 2 million shillings to buy a can, watch somebody trying to tamper with it. You'll actually raise your voice. This is what we are trying to do. We've partnered with Gol Kenya and Synergy, and we're trying to bring plot level sanitation, whereby at the end of the day, we are saying there is a value addition to that sanitation chain. The fecal waste and the sludge that has been as nuisance, we're now having that taken to a collection center and treated.
All right, so there is hope.
There is hope, and it's a pilot, and we're having dissemination to partners and stakeholders, and I think it would be a good opportunity to invite the county government to see that there's actually a solution, especially in the informal settlements where issues of land to put up ablution blocks is not feasible, and the sewerage system does not effectively serve this area. Right. So this is one option that can be able to serve us for the time, and we can see about scaling it out to help also the other areas.
And I think on that note, we will have to end our discussion today. Priscilla Mwaniki and Honorable Moses Ogeto, thank you very much for being on Green Talk.
Thank you.
Okay, now in 2007, Mr. Kanye struck a deal with the Nanyuki Water and Sanitation Company to reclaim a garbage dump site. Now, using recycled sewage, he has turned the place into a vibrant horticultural production center. George Kanye is our green hero today. Meet him after the break.
Mimi naitwa George Kanye. Sasa hapa ilikuwa ni dump site ambaye imemwagwa takataka kwa muda wa miaka kama 30. Kulikuwa ni kama maficho ya wahalifu, na hata hizi maroli zilikuwa zikimwaga kila mahali kulikuwa kote kuko na uchafu. Mahali hapa nikaanza mwezi wa 8 kusafisha, kwa sababu nilikuwa nikiona inatumiwa vibaya na inaharibu mazingira yetu. Mwaka 2007 ndio nilifikiria kuingia kwa Nawasco. Nikaweza kuwaelezea hapa hakutaki kukaa namna hii, kunatakiwa tubadilishe, tukua zote tukua na ushirikiano kamili, tubadilishe ili siku za usoni usiwe na picha kama ile iliyokuwa zamani. Stage ya kwanza ilikuwa kama miezi 6, nikawa nimefikisha nusu, na ingawa sikuwa na pesa za kutosha, lakini niliweza kufikisha nusu. Hii ingine naye mahali nimefikisha sasa imenichukua kama miaka 4 ndio sasa kuweza kufaulu kabisa kusafisha kama eka 80. Vijana wengi wanategemea damu za sababu ya kurokota zile vitu, wanarokota wanakwenda kuuza kama plastic na nini. Sasa mimi nilikuja hapa nikachukua vijana nikawashauri tusaidiane kusafisha hii damu site, na wakakubaliana mimi. Ndio sasa nikawachukua na tukaanza kusafisha na hawa vijana, nikiwa na walipa kidogo shilingi 200 kila siku, na kwa muda wa miezi 6 tulikuwa tumefikisha kwa kiwango fulani. Sasa hizi damu zimetengenezwa kiutaalamu, kwa sababu vile imetengenezwa damu ya kwanza, wakati maji imetoka town ama kwingine kote, inakuja inaingia kwa damu ya kwanza, inatakiwa ikae muda kama miezi 3, siku 100, ndio ikuje damu ya pili. Naye damu ya pili itakaa pengine kama siku kama 70 ama 50, ndio ikuje damu ya 3. Na pia damu ya 3 pia inakaa masaa yake, kitabu ifike hapa hivi ndio iweze kutoka iende tena mtoni na ingine tutumie, sababu ikifika hapa inamaanisha kwamba ni safi, tunaweza kutumia na ingine narudi mtoni. Hii maji iko mzuri tena, hata ni tamu. Mimi nilianza kupanda miti na nikaanza kupanda sasa hii chakula ya ng'ombe, na baadaye kidogo ndio nikaanza sasa hii kulima ingine ya kawaida ambaye naona inasaidia sana, ambaye ni tunaifanya kama kulima biashara. Hiyo sasa ndio tunapanda nyanya, mboga, hoho na aina zote za chakula. Hizi vitu tunalima hapa tunauza kwa njia ya wholesale, ili naye mtu mwingine pia aende akapate faida. Tunauzia watu ya soko, na hata watu wengine wanakuja kuchukua na lori wanapeleka Karatina, lakini sisi wenyewe hatupeleki, kwa sababu tunataka hata community pia wale wako karibu na sisi waende wapate faida hapo mbele. Watu wa NETBAD walikuja hapa wakaangalia na wakatumia busara yao, na wakaona ni vizuri kunipatia award, na hiyo award ilikuwa milioni 2 na imenisaidia sana, na tunafurahia sana sababu hii maji ni mzuri na inatosha kutusaidia kupata ukulima. Tunaweza kusaidia town zingine zote zile kunazo hapa Kenya, tunaweza kusaidia na mawazo kama hii, ili tuendelee kufaidika na kufaidisha Kenya yetu.
Tunafanya kazi na Mr. Kanye.
Mimi siko kwa street juu tangu Kanye kuja huku, George Kanye tumekaa naye na hakuna mabaya tunaonaga, na pia anatupea hata job.
Kwa sasa hali imerudi shwari kabisa, na tumeona kama damu site zote za Kenya zinaweza kuwa hivi.
Hi, my name is Ian Bogwa. It's a great shame when we see burst pipes and we see a lot of sewage just flowing, knowing that there are people who are paid to make sure that this does not happen. Nairobi's water and sewage is very inadequate. Nairobi was planned for fewer people than there are now. And so at the rate we're going to achieve the MDGs, absolutely not. And when it comes to the question of Vision 2030, we might get there at Vision 2070 if we're lucky. Every time we see something wrong in terms of burst pipes or manholes spewing sewage, we shouldn't just let it pass and think that it is somebody else's responsibility to do something. We need to call the people who are responsible for that. We've got the social media. Take a photograph, put it on Twitter, put it on FB, make as much noise as possible, because it is your right to live in a clean environment. And if you don't do it, who's going to do it? It is up to you to do something.
Hello, Mjambo Kenya wenzangu. Today I just have one question for you. What can we do as the people of this nation to put our government accountable so that we don't have this kind of flowing sewers spoiling our roads?
Well, I mean, I think if we look at the rights of the residents, I think the rights of the residents are those of the residents of any other part of Kenya. You know, people have a right to clean water, you know, to garbage collection, to security, to many of these basic services that are provided by the government in some measure in other parts of the city and of the country. The government may not be able to provide all of these things to our satisfaction. And so where that is not possible, then we take it upon ourselves to be able to search for solutions, not just for the people living in this area, but also in surrounding areas, because you know, the government is always going to be limited in terms of its funding, its capacity and its ability to provide all the services we might like.
A safe and clean environment with proper sanitary amenities is your right and mine. See you next week on Project Week. Eh? Aki jadi. Rudi tu jadi. Here is another tap. I know. Here's another pipe. Eh?
My message to Kenyans is, it is your responsibility to live in a
That's okay, that's too much.
So we're still in Soweto, and here's another point where the latrines are draining right into the river. This is Nairobi River, and you can see by the color of the water that it's completely mixed up with effluent. It's deep green in color. A lot of pollution right there.